Sam, do you have what it is? Hey! Minus 3, you said? Yeah. Okay. And you agree now, so you need to know how to do the list? Yeah. Okay. So what are the factors of 3? 1 and 3. What are the factors of 4? 1. So 1, so I would divide those by 1, right? And I just get those back again. Then I would divide them by 2, right? Right? And then I would divide them by 4. So there's my list. No. No, because it's factors of this number divided by factors of that number. Okay? Right? And then on this one, negative, I think it was negative 1/2 was a double root. So you had to do that one twice in order to get it down to, then you could use the quadratic function on it. Good? Or should I say yeet? No? Because today's a little hard. We gotta go backwards.
Are we throwing stuff at me again?
No. It's not bad. It's really, honestly, today it's not that bad. It is not anything near what the first class claims it to be. Okay? Alright? They just chose not to, how do I want to say, open their minds to the concept. Okay? Right? All you're doing, you know how to do every single thing today. It's the exact same process, except we're going in reverse. So instead of finding the zeros, I'm going to give you the zeros. Instead of starting with, or instead of ending with the zeros, I want you to end with the polynomial function. Okay? All right? And provided you stay consistent, do every problem the exact same way, you'll have no problems. You'll have no issues. You'll be just fine. Okay? So, when I give you a 0, in the past, okay, so if I back up a couple of slides, in the past, I would give you the function and say, find all the zeros. Now, I'm giving you all the zeros, and I'm going to have you find the function. Okay? So, let's work backwards. What does -1 being a 0, what does that really mean? How did you get x plus 1 as a factor? So I set my 0 equal to x, right? Then I get that equal to 0. And then therefore, x plus 1 is a factor. Right? Okay. Because if you think about the ending of the last problems that you did, even on the homework that you did here, you got it, you factored that polynomial down, and then you set those factors equal to 0, and then you solved those, and that gave you your zeros. Right? So if we're working in reverse, we would say, okay, now we have the 0. let's set that equal to x, because that would have been the second to last step yesterday. Then let's solve that, get that equal to 0, because that's what we would have done. We would have set the factors equal to 0. So then let's call it a factor. You're doing the exact same thing, just in reverse. Okay? So then the process for 2, it's a 0. So then x would have to equal 2. So then x minus 2 would have to equal 0. So then x minus 2 is a factor. Right? Now, if you skip this middle stuff and just go right from the 0 to the factor, once you see it, I'm fine with that. Okay? But you got to be able to see that. And just when you think you have all the answers, on the next slide I'm going to change the question. Okay? All right? Here then, 4. So now we've got our polynomial in factored form. Really, right? So what is our polynomial then? F of x, we'll call it f of x, is equal to what? X plus 1 times x minus 2 times x minus 4. Okay? Is that my polynomial yet? No. That's my factored form. So how am I going to get it from my factored form back to my polynomial? Tim? Distribute. Yeah, you're going to do the multiplication. Okay? So which 2 do you want to multiply first? Give me colors. Red and blue? Okay. All right. Red and blue. So if I multiply red and blue together, what do I get? You should be able to now do that in your head. X squared minus 6x plus 8. And that still has to be multiplied by, actually let's do it, still has to be multiplied by green right? So now I take that x term and I multiply it in to all of those. So a little sidebar action, that would be, let me move this up a little bit, that would be x cubed minus 6x squared plus 8x, right? Then I take that positive 1, multiply it into all 3, and that would be x squared minus 6x plus 8. And then I do what with those two? Add them together. So I get my function, my polynomial function, is what? X cubed minus 5x squared plus 2x plus 8. Say louder, Freddie. It's not hard at all. That's all we're doing. That's it. Okay? That's it. But, now, I will tell you this. Okay? First off, let me ask this question. Does everybody understand that process all the way from the start? Okay? Because your questions, and here they're like, oh, and then I went like this. And then they said, okay, with me? Again. And then I told them, I said, keep the process the same. Do the exact same thing every single time. Okay? So what did we do first? We found our factors, right? We got the zeros, we found our factors. So even when it looks like this, you still find your factors. Okay? So, first one is 4. That's my 0. So that means that x had to equal 4 at some point in time in that process. Which had to meant then that x minus 4 equals 0. So x minus 4 is a factor. Yes. Agree. Okay. How many zeros are in this one? There's 2 of them. What are they? 1 minus the square root of 5 and 1 plus the square root of 5. Agree with me on that? So first break those 2 out. So now this one is my 0, right? Which means then at some point in time x had to equal 1 minus the square root of 5. Which means that x minus 1 plus the square root of 5 had to equal 0. Right? Which means that x minus 1 plus the square root of 5 is a factor. Right? Exact same process as in the green. Didn't change the process. Trust the process. Bless you. You're welcome. Okay? You find me the third factor. I get x minus 1 minus the square root of 5 as my factor. Yes? Okay. What did we do next then? We multiplied all 3 factors, right? So, f of x here is going to equal x minus 4 times x minus 1 plus the square root of 5 times x minus 1 minus the square root of 5. Now, I'm going to slide that on down a little bit more, just so we give ourselves a little more space. Okay? Which 2 do you want to multiply first? Red and blue. Red and blue is a great choice to multiply first. Okay? Now, it's a trinomial, right? Times a trinomial. Right? Okay? So that means we got to do 3 distributes. It's okay. We're literally, it's not that bad. We'll go purple. So X has to go in there, right? So that is X squared minus X times the square root of 5. Agree? Then, -1 has to go in to all of those. What? Oh, yeah. Okay. So like this one? Yeah. So it would be -x, right? But now +1, I don't have a column for just numbers, and plus the square root of 5. Pause for the cause here. Do you see how I got that line? Yes? Okay. Now I've got to do, we'll do it in black. The square root of 5 times those 3. So that's going to be plus x square roots of 5 minus the square root of 5 minus 5. Because positive square root of 5 times negative square root of 5 is negative square root of 25, which is -5. Right? Okay? Now, here's the cool thing about that. Because I know you're saying to yourself, self, what about all these square roots of 5? What about this square root of 5 out here? Cancels each other out. What about these square roots of 5 here? Cancels each other out, right? So we're left with x squared minus 2x minus 4. So f of x is now, which one did we leave out? X minus 4? Right? X cubed minus 2x squared minus 4x negative 4x squared plus 8x plus 16. Put them all together. F of x is x cubed minus 6x squared plus 4x plus 16. Are these problems long? Some of them. Are they all going to be that long? No. But it's not like you don't know how to do all of this math. many zeros are there in this problem? 4. So in thinking about it now, let's look back here at the last two. There were 3 zeros there. What was my degree in the end? 3. There were how many zeros here? 3. What was the degree in the end? 3. There's how many zeros here now? 4. So it's going to be in x to the 4th one at the end. Agree that x minus 1 is one of our factors. Yeah. Okay. Agree that x plus 1 is a factor. Okay. Agree that those two split up into 4i and negative 4i. Okay. All right, now it's bugging me. Whoa! Yes? So there's my 4 factors. Okay? So, f of x is now equal to x minus 1 times x plus 1 times x minus 4i times x plus 4i. Agree. Okay. All right, let's do the first two. So that would be x squared minus x plus x minus 1, right? So that becomes x squared minus 1. Agree. Okay. Do these two. X squared plus 4xi minus 4xi minus 16i squared. Agree with that. 4xi minus 4xi, 0, negative 16i squared. Positive 16 here. Because I squared is negative 1. Okay? So this becomes x squared plus 16. Now let's do this one. X squared, x squared. Come on now. Better than that. X to the 4th plus 16x squared minus x squared minus 16. Right? Becomes f of x equals x to the 4th plus 15x squared minus 16. Anybody recognize it? It was number 14 from your homework last night. Okay? So we did it right. Again, if you trust the process and do the process, it's not that hard. What's up, Brian? So you probably did. You got them in the black and the orange stuff. Is what probably those are probably flip-flops.
Yeah, because I just and I factored x plus 1 into it, and then I got that, and then I did x plus I. So I think I was
Okay. Conventional wisdom is I always comes last, but okay. What do we think about this homework? I'm thinking we should have it due tomorrow. And then what about Friday? There's a formative on Friday, yeah? Do you want it to be? You can put it on there. I can rewrite the formative.